Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this cast. I'm your host, Leafy Potato, and welcome to a very different game. So, if you're looking at the chat in the top left, this is a powerless game. It's a format that we kind of just brainstormed on the fly. This is the first time that any of us had really played a multiplayer powerless game, other than Mr., who did a 1v1 a while ago. The whole gist is you can't make generators. You might think at first, well, that's fine, I'll just make army, except you only have 50 power, and houses cost power. So if you want to increase your population, you need to spend some of your very precious power to do so. Here we have Valera as well, which is one of the most ridiculous 3v3 maps ever. It's terrible for everything except for 3v3, and maybe free-for-all. But myself, qalavan, and SunnySide, predetermined to be on a team. Mr. Amigo and Kuro on their own team. And again, playing powerless. This ended up being one of the most interesting gimmick games I think I've ever played. Just like, hands down. I have no better way to describe it. I'm curious to see what you guys think of this. Certainly I would not recommend that it become any sort of official game mode or anything, but like, one of the major problems with NRTS, and there's a couple of major problems with NRTS, but one of the bigger ones is that static defense is absolutely freaking broken, and it takes a lot of attention and resources in order to break through it. You can eventually break through towers and turrets and whatnot once you get to the point where you have artillery and a whole bunch of medics, but that takes forever, and in the meantime, it can be very difficult to contest. Now, making a tower means that you have to sacrifice 3 farms, and that's huge. Right? Farm upgrades start being way more important for eco as well, and since farms are only 2 power, it's not that big of a deal. I figure, since I'm on one of the islands in Valera, there's 2 ways that you can approach this. Getting choppers is one way that you can be directly threatening to the opponent, and then beyond that, you could go for navy and try to transport your troops across. Choppers allow me to defend against enemy choppers, so I figure I kind of need to get those. I could make militia and try to defend my island like that, but honestly, choppers can fight on the water as well, so if for whatever reason somebody buys a gunboat, you know, my transport's in danger. Chopper's just the safest, simplest way to go. Problem is, because power is limited, so too is population in a very interesting way. And so, choppers being 2-pop is actually pretty relevant. Right, at the beginning couple minutes of the game is going to look normal, but you'll notice, kind of off the bat, pretty much everybody is forced into some sort of early aggression. And I have my chopper out, and I go to like go and harass enemy farms, because that's just usually what you do. And it does still deal damage to the opponent. Right now I'm actually trying to deny a port, because it seems like Mr. wants to invade me with militia and start taking my stuff. So I've got my chopper out on the water right now, trying to deny that, and forgive me, this is not the best casting angle. I can't see all of the different players, because I played this from my own perspective. This is a recording from the game itself. We do not have a replay system in NRTS, and I'd be shocked if we ever did. Yeah. Greed has gotten the better of me. Kuro's already got a chopper out. It seems like he made it at Amigo's base. It's pretty... The angle that it came in from was kind of awkward. I'm going to see if I can't shoot a little bit at this port, but Kuro's chopper is going to make that a little bit of a problem. Now we're going to trade shots over here. And Mr.'s got a transport boat on the map now. He wants to load up with the workers and militia and see if he can't get on my island. Kuro's chopper providing great cover for this as well. I just can't seem to get my shots on the transport because Kuro's hugging my choppers, as you have to do. Mr. ends up landing on my island, and that's really bad. But I try to chase down the chopper. I do eventually get it. Okay, so I've got 2 choppers in my own skies, although they're both very damaged, versus 2 workers and some militia. I'm trying to just defend my farm. I've got another chopper out on the map. That's great. I pick off 1 militia. That's not a lot, but Mr.'s kind of stuck with the force he's got on my island right now. He could reinforce, but I now have choppers out on the water, and I'm going to look to destroy his port in the first place. Make him rebuild a port. That's going to be pretty expensive. It's going to be hard to do. You have to commit your workers to doing that. So if he wants to get off my island now, he either makes workers at his command center and then makes another port, or he makes support from my island, which I can harass constantly. Now, Amigo's arriving in force with 3 choppers himself. I'm about to have a 4th chopper on the map, but my first 2 are so damaged I basically can't fight with them. I will get the transport ship, though, so Mr. is on my island. He has to commit. He does take a farm and will place a tower, and that's really freaking annoying. So right now, I basically just have to hope that qalavan and SunnySide are going to manage to do something significant. Kuro seems to be dealing with Sunny, though, as he is closer. I do manage to sell one of my low HP choppers just because right now I'm not in a position to be making a house. That 1 HP chopper really isn't going to do me any favors. I'd like to get the population freed up so I can get a full HP chopper on the field now. Okay, Sunny's got choppers in the sky. He is going to harass. Amigo, keeping his choppers all grouped together, very delicately dancing about. I'm about to have a 3v3 against Amigo, and I can win that. Mr. has a vehicle depot on my island, and that sucks. But Sunny is harassing the crap out of Mr. Stuff, and Mr.'s base is sort of vulnerable. We have 4 basically full HP choppers and 1 very damaged one. If Amigo were to vacate the premises, so to speak, then Mr. would just be dead. And we also have a couple militia to tank shots as well here from Sunny. Very, very good. So he pushed towards Mr.'s base. I look at my own base. I'm like, well, I'm going to need something to deal with Mr.'s force. And he's making vehicles right now, but he doesn't have very high eco. So, like, the anti-air is going to keep my choppers from doing anything. I dive Mr.'s base way too early. Sunny's, like, nowhere close. I'm going to end up losing a chopper pretty soon to this, yeah. Kuro sends his chopper over to try to help out, and I take a loss. But Sunny and I just happen to have enough stuff around that we can put some serious hurt on Mr.'s base. And in fact, if I recall correctly, we do actually end up killing this. If just barely. Yeah. Look at that. Oh. There we are. We lose basically everything, but Mr.'s down at command center, and that's pretty big. That command center is 25 eco you don't get. And 25 eco doesn't sound like it's that important, but when you're operating on the order of, like, at most 200 eco, and most of that's in farms, because you can't even have more than 10 houses, like, you physically cannot. Yeah, 25 is a lot. So Mr.'s out of a command center. The workers he's got on my island are basically the workers he's gonna have. Sunny, meanwhile, still harassing the rest of Mr.'s farms. Mr.'s only presence is on my island, and I can produce militia. So I think what I do now is I've been making houses for Eco. I'm making another tower to prevent him from being able to just kill me. And then I think I start militia production up, because this anti-air is not going to do a thing. And as soon as I've got the anti-air off the map, Mr.'s upgrading his vehicle depot right now. He doesn't have that much money that he can produce anything out of with. Even if he did, though, if he wanted to stop choppers from coming back on the map, he'd have to first make another anti-air if I managed to kill his first. And then, after that, yeah, you still have to contend with the militia that I've got on the map. So, I start making a militia, since Mr.'s going to fight me on my own island. Give me the home field advantage. I don't have to make anything else. I can just trickle out 1 militia every 10 seconds, and Mr. can't fight it. Especially not with an upgrading vehicle depot. So, like, even if he manages to get a heavy tank out on the map, it probably doesn't even matter. It seems like the plan was artillery, but artillery and then a hospital, when you have next to 0 eco, is just a non-starter. You just can't do it. And so already, I've got more militia on my island than Mr. does, and that's good. That means that I can start executing my will on the map. Sunny is going and trying to help me retake some of my farms, which is good. I try to zone out the anti-air from Mr. so it can't be a nuisance. Mr.'s upgrading vehicle depot is nearly done, so I gotta be very careful about that. Sunny, still chopper producing. I haven't been paying that much attention to the map. I haven't been paying that much attention to what qalavan's been doing. I did recommend at the start of the game that he try to make militia and a transport boat to get out towards Amigo's base very quickly and start harassing his farms. I don't know exactly how that went. It seems like qalavan's at least intact, and that's pretty important. Okay, so I've established a very significant militia force. Mr. has an upgraded vehicle depot that he basically can't produce out of. Last thing I want though, is Mister to have a heavy tank on the field, because as soon as he does, we're in trouble. My entire defense strategy involves militia, primarily. Though, I do have enough militia now that I can start to poke a little bit at his fortifications, try to push him off the map. I really just want to get this depot down, because forcing him to spend another $140 in 2 minutes in order to unlock the capacity to make units that can threaten me, like, that's what I want to do. And so he's going to try to push forward and kill my militia, but I got rallying militia in, and they actually do get the finishing shot here. I think I actually do kill this tower. Qalavan's making workers at my base. That's not a good sign. I pull my militia back. I could have killed the tower. I push them forward again. He asks, do I just chopper spam? So I presume Qalavan's dead. Yeah, that's not good. He's making housing at my base. Almost certainly Kuro just bombed him. It's very, very difficult to produce. Yeah, Qalavan's off the map. That's bad. So we managed to kill Mister, and then Kuro gets a snipe on Qual. It happens, especially when you're disincentivized from making static defenses. You see that I have some around my base, but that's just because Mister landed on my base, and so immediately I go and sell my towers once I'm safe. Make that air pad again. And you'll see right now, I'm at 44 out of 50 power. I've got 6 power to spare right now, and I'm at 25 max pop. That's going to sum up this game pretty succinctly. Right, you need farms for eco. If you have too many farms, though, then you can't have enough housing and production structures. Mind you, production structures like barracks, depot, port, air pad, all of that take 15 power. And as we see, Kuro still has an air force over Sunny's base. Sunny's going to get sniped as well. This is no longer... Oh. Okay, Sunny barely survives. Clutch. I've driven Mister off of my base, and Mister's out of the game. Qalavan's rebuilding his base on my island, which is better than nothing. Move a chopper across the map to help Sunny defend his territory a little bit. I think in this kind of spot, when you have a low HP like command center like that, you make a barracks, you make 2 repairmen, you sell the barracks, and you rebuild your air pad. You need the HP on your command center, because these things are fragile and they are important. When you can't add that much static defense around your command center, the command center fire is your static defense. And we see Sunny got a little greedy, poked in at Kuro, and Kuro's going to move in with 3 choppers. And the choppers are going to get melted, but so is the remainder of Sunny's base, and that's just... it's tragic. Okay, so we're down a command center. That's bad. Sunny's got the majority of his economy intact, though. And I've reclaimed my island. So, early kill on Mister, Qalavan gets sniped, Sunny gets sniped. I'm the last command center alive for our team. Sunny and I both have a lot of choppers that we can commit towards potentially killing Kuro, and it seems like that's the move that we're trying to go for here. Except that... actually, I don't know why we wouldn't go for that move. Choppers are heading back to my own base. Oh, it's because Kuro sold some of his houses to build turrets. So we do go for the move, we just won't get it, because we're taking way too much damage from turret fire. Yeah, and we get our air forces wiped out. That's terrible. Don't even get the air pad. Yeah, that hurts. That hurts. It probably would have been a lot wiser to just sit back, make a hospital, heal up the choppers that we had that have taken battle damage, and then just go. Almost certainly that was a bad call on my part. That really shouldn't have happened. Okay, and we're still trying to figure out, okay, how do we play powerless right now? Because obviously we need houses for pop, but like houses take a lot of energy that could have been spent on, I don't know, farms or something. We have Qalavan over here with an aircraft carrier. Seems like he's got a decent idea. Aircraft carriers take 3 population as opposed to 15 power and allow you to make air units, upgraded air units as well. So very, very strong. They can't make big transport copters or transports, but they can make fighters and hornets, and that's pretty impressive. So it seems like the air forces are going to be very dominant in this game. Qalavan gets to save himself 15 power that can be used on basically anything in exchange for sacking 3 of his population, allowing him to make choppers, fighters, and hornets. We see chopper militia versus pure chopper happening over here. Sunny doesn't have any way to produce any more militia on the map, but we have a rallying fighter in from Qalavan. Will push Kuro and Amigo back to Amigo space. We do have the use of static defense from both players on the enemy team, which is very interesting to me. Because you'd think it would just make more sense to go and take more farms. Amigo having all of 4 farms to his name with 2 houses, that's just not that impressive. Is slowly producing a trickle of choppers. And I'm over here dancing my choppers around, trying to zone him out, keep him from getting to my territories. I figure upped farms are probably going to be way more important than pop. If I can just keep trading over and over and produce 1 unit for every unit I lose when the enemy can't, I'd want to do that, right? If I have something like 200-300 eco in farms and I have low pop, you know, I don't have to fear the enemy having a larger army than me if I can just keep hitting them over and over and over again. So that's kind of the idea, but like I have to get to a position where I have that higher economy and can defend it, which makes it more complicated, right? If I could just snap my fingers and choose, do I have a higher economy or a higher army? I'd rather the economy. But I have to get to a point where I control the map first, and then I have to get it. I've still got a territorial defense force of militia, because I really don't know why. Eventually I'll end up selling them, but I have a lot of choppers right now. I'm in no position to kill purple. Sunny's trying to kill Kuro again. I don't think that ends up working. Oh yeah, I think we were going to attempt an attack on purple. And I need fighters to help me out here. Why am I fighting in range with 2 towers and the enemy chopper force? Bad call. I end up losing, what was that, 3 choppers? Before Qalavan's fighter gets here? That's just terrible. But Kuro's out of choppers over Amigo's base, so that's good. If there's a silver lining. Seems like we did decent damage. There's a lot of damage stuff in here. I kind of push the fighter into the fight, but then I mess up my micro. And then my choppers get shot out of the sky, and then Qalavan wakes up and is like, oh, are we fighting this? Yeah. My play completely went out of window here. I went from having relative air superiority around Amigo's base to having not that, which is not great. I sell my militia now because I realize how much having that population locked up limited me. Okay, status quo is resumed. We have some fighters around Amigo's base, which will help significantly, but Amigo's got a vehicle depot, so he's looking to push with anti-air. Anti-air is absolutely a problem. I have no real good means of dealing with that. Do we attempt an attack here, the 3 of us? I'm very curious to see. And again, this is like... None of us have played in this context ever before. We have not played a game where generators are banned that's a 3v3, and especially not one on Valera. We barely play 3v3s on Valera in the first place. I get a transport copter, I figure I need farms, right? I want to spend my power on farms. You know, if I can sack everything else and then just have my allies defend me, I can have a super high eco, even if it means that I have to get a nuke in the end. That would be preferable to having such a limited economy that I can't sustain any losses. In hindsight, healing is probably actually really strong. Because your eco is so limited. I mean, yeah, hospitals are 10 power, which is a lot. And medics only barely heal more for the amount of space they take up. Since every house is 5 power, every population sort of is also 1 power. So 2 power per medic. You need 5 medics to out-heal a hospital, and it only out-heals by like 1 or 2 HP a minute. It's not a lot. Anyways, I do end up getting a hospital down after I have lost like a dozen choppers in this match, which is embarrassing, but It is what it is. Qalavan's working on defense research, which makes a lot of sense. Research facility, no power. You just need to spend money. So if you have money to spend, it's the right way to do it. Okay, now I'm going back and I'm trying to fill my power with farms, because that's just what you do. We have had air control anyways. I don't know why my work... Oh, yeah, because I didn't finish the hospital. Anyways, hospital is up. So that's good. Both Sunny and Qalavan are working on missile turrets right now, which is nice, but... Okay, about 20 minutes in this game, our situation is peculiar. The enemy team has 2 command centers. Our team only has 1 command center. We have pretty light presences on the main island. And then the auxiliary islands, so red and orange in our cases, have been like the main hub of production, which has been very strange. Now, I am producing medics now, just so that I can sell the hospital and spend my power on something else. Right now, I'm valuing power more than population. At some point, it is kind of a wash, but the medics can walk with you. The hospitals can't. So there's that. That, and with a hospital, you can make 1, 2, 3, 4 medics, and not have to take up all of the population. I opt for 3 medics. Have some healing so that I can generate some value on my troops over time, but not have as much of an impact on my overall economy. We see Kuro with a force of militia trying to walk around and wipe Sunny off the face of the earth. And then got my medic stationed around. Upgrading a vehicle depot right now here is kind of greedy because my troops are nowhere close enough to help. Sunny losing a chopper to anti-air happens to suck. And then, oh yeah, I informed my allies that they should be poking over and over again because I have healing. Like, if they don't have damaged units, they're doing it wrong. Because healing only generates you value if you're damaged. They will not over-heal you. And we wipe out the militia force that Kuro had going. And then I go to poke at Mr.'s farms because I don't want him kickstarting his economy. Although he can just as easily rebuild them. We see a massive battle fleet from Kuro. At this point, I'm trying to rally back to protect my base. We have missile turrets going up, so we should be fine. The real trouble is I've got an upgrading vehicle depot in the middle of the map doing nothing. At some point, I realize he's not going for Sunny's base. He's going for mine. And I'm in no position to really stop any of it. He doesn't seem to notice the upgrading vehicle depot in the middle of the map, though, which is crazy. Okay. And meanwhile, on the other side of the map, he does have some exposed houses that I want to poke at. I'm just checking the range of the other command center, trying to stay out of reach. I do end up getting a house. I will continue to get farms. Okay, I've got an upgraded vehicle depot on the map right now, but it's basically just out of time. Trying to make an anti-air here. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it in time. And even with the anti-air, it's not going to stop Kuro. So Amigo only has 1 chopper shooting at this, which is just tragic. I've got some amount of healing here. I get the anti-air out on the map. I hit Amigo's chopper. But I'm boned. The anti-air manages to get my transport because I'm stupid. I'm panicking a little bit here because I've got 3 medics and a worker that are basically left for dead. At some point I realize they're not going to make it home. I will just write them off, and Sunny's base will die because my choppers are out of position completely. So L plays by me. Terrible, terrible. Kuro making decent punishes. Amigo exploiting my completely undefended vehicle depot in the middle of the map. I will just try to retake some farms while I can, but those are probably going to die. Sunny has managed to fight away Kuro, at least alright. Pretty desperately trying to get a turret down. At some point I realize, yeah, this just isn't going to work, and I'm just going to sell for 40% of their on-paper value. And then sell the farm as well to get some of its value back. I will clean up the recons with these choppers, though. Or, well, at least I'll try to. Kuro's probably going to swoop back in. Yeah. Deus Ex Machina. And this is sort of a difficult position. Well, it's been a difficult position ever since I've been the last command center alive, but like this is particularly difficult. The command center will at least be fairly well defended because both of my allies happen to have missile tech, so good on them. It's just, yeah, what do I do? I've got a force of 5 choppers. I've got no source of healing. My economy is kind of not it. Yeah, this is a rough game. Really rough game. There are options for us to win, but only in the opponents not knowing how to play this game. I do decide to drop a port. I want to get fighters in the air, and or just to have a production structure that doesn't cost power. Right, I figure an aircraft carrier is probably the way to go. That and the enemy's main force against us is choppers, so fighters are a decent hedge. Oh, forgive me, every time I lean back in my chair and then my audio goes out the window. Okay, so we're 25 minutes in this game. I've been pushed back to my island. Both of my allies are on my island. This is completely losing in a regular match of NRTS. This is powerless, though. And so the enemies, you will see, will struggle very greatly to do anything to stop this. Also, me floating $700 at 146 eco is like the funniest sight ever, but I promise it's way more common than you know. Okay, so we've got a hospital, the team hospital, the resident hospital. It's awesome. Okay, and then I've got, I think I made a barge on accident, but it really doesn't matter. And then here I have the master plans. The idea is to have Sunny spend his entire power on farms and upped farms, and then we stall the game for a nuke silo. If the enemies can't hold farms and we can, right, like, we have a lot of air units. That's great. We've got fighters in the sky now. We've got choppers. It's kind of hard for the enemies to shove us around without anti-air. And it's very hard for the enemies to shove us around on the water. Qalavan's base is dead, but the enemies haven't taken the farms there. Mainly because they're spending their power on things like housing, which you need to make units, and unit producing structures, which you need to make units. But if we write off one of our allies as like, okay, you are the guy with farms, and you make some units, but you don't really focus on that at all. Your only job is to have way higher eco than any individual on the enemy team. And then my and Qalavan's job becomes defend those farms. Then we have a trump card. We have a way that we can force the game into progress. Because right here, breaking through static defense is going to be a royal pain in the... Well, it's just going to be a royal pain, right? There's no real proposition of me getting artillery in this game. Let's just say that. Right, having to upgrade a vehicle depot, spend 15 power in the first place, needing to have less than 35 population, and then having to make some sort of unit. Like, the order of operations that you need in order to get an artillery on the field means that you have to have something like 20 pop on the field and no more. And then you have to get an artillery pretty much after you have medics. Or you could get an artillery, sell your upped depot, which hurts, because you don't get the sell value of an upped depot when you sell an upped depot. You get the sell value of a regular depot when you sell an upped depot for some reason. So you get $16. But you sell the upped depot for the power. Hospitals are only 10 power, and depots are 15. So then you have room for one more house. You make the house, and then you can make 2 medics. So you see the sort of routing that you have to do to get units on the field is painful. And in the meantime, you kind of have to have half of an army, so it's even more committal than it already is to get artillery and medics on the field in order to break through static defense indefinitely. Not that the opponent can have that much, but just to say, it is extremely obnoxious. Now, the best course of action in Powerless probably is to have one guy make medics and one guy make artillery. And so you split those responsibilities and you split the power, right? The order of operations isn't as necessary anymore, as one guy's only focus is to make that hospital and doesn't need to worry about how he routes his power beforehand. There's less selling that has to go on. And so more value is retained. Here we see a bit of a skirmish here. I want to keep Amigo and Kuro away from this bubble as long as physically possible. I really, really want to protect Blue's farms, which we have relatively good control over. Blue's base is really close to Orange's. We killed him pretty early. Amigo and Kuro, both of their production centers are pretty far from Mr.'s base. So, relatively, we sort of have control over Orange, Green, and Blue's base. And the enemy team relatively has control over Red, Purple, and Yellow's base. If you want to consider it like that. So, life's pretty good. As far as life can be good at this time, right? The enemies are building up a bank right now, but they're building up a bank on like 170 eco. Which is going to take forever. Right? They're going to hit their pop cap super fast. As have I. Okay. Still have the hospital in the back. Sunny's working on getting some farms and upgrading them. I'm working on spending some power on defense, although in all reality, it probably just makes more sense to spend that power on anything else. Okay. My research facility is done. I'm going to sell that back for its own value. Probably going to sell the tower for the missile turret just because it's better. I sell it for housing instead. Interesting. I think what I'm doing here is I'm gonna make the house, make a couple more air units, and then sell the house for the power, and then spend the power on defense. Because you can have more units than you have housing, you just can't make more units past your housing cap, right? So if I have 40 population and units, and then I sell all my houses, I'll have 40 out of 10. Which just means that unless my population drops below 10, I can't make another unit. But I can still have 40 population, so that's a little bit of a loophole there. Once you get your maxed army, quote-unquote, you can sell your houses. Provided you don't lose any of your army, you can keep that maintained. Very tricky situation. Yeah, I'm now I'm highlighting all my housing and selling it all for the power. Because now my job is defend Sunny. And honestly, once I get to the point where I've got the population and air units that I need, I can pretty readily just sell the aircraft carrier. Because if I'm losing these choppers, I'm not going to be able to replace them unless I drop them below 8 population, which that's catastrophic. Right, I really can't afford for that to happen at all. Okay. And now we've got a little bit of a base set up on the mainland where we can project our power more readily. There are a lot of medics here near Amigo's base. Amigo's trying to take a chopper to harass around. I think I caught it off the corner of my eye, and I'll soon move my fighters. Oh. I guess I didn't. I'm just trying to threaten the base. A lot of medics here for Mister. But that's basically his whole pop. He had the idea of massing medics as a way to spend his pop to support his team. And honestly, it's working decently well. The problem is, though, if I can ever get on those medics, they're kind of toast, so you have to rely on the enemy's lack of coordination. Okay, and I retreat back to my hospital. Sure, the enemy can heal faster than I can, but I have fighters in my comp. So I'm not too terrified. I can deal a lot of damage to them faster than they can deal damage to me. I just heal slower than they do. So it kind of is a wash. We have to spend as much time healing. Now, their healing can be at the front lines, and that's a big difference. Amigo, chopper pushed back. Sunny going around trying to take farms. This is where it's going to be difficult. Amigo and Kuro are going to do their best to try to poke in towards those farms, and you already see Amigo's moving out. He's got Recon Anti-Air, which honestly is a fine composition for a limited pop game like No Power, because it's just very, very cost efficient. You're not really going to be seeing splash outside of missile turrets, because you just really can't. Heavy tanks are just as hard to get to as artillery are, and they're both extremely hard to get to. Keeping my fighters close to the coast so that whenever the anti-air decides that they want to poke towards me, I can just dip, as I shall be doing soon. And so we have all three players microing against me. Oh, they've gone away. They've got macro to do. We see selling of a vehicle depot. Seems like we need more pop in this game. Kuro's trying to catch my choppers for some damage, but he can't deal conclusive damage. Just a couple harassing shots. Now Kuro can just heal up immediately with Mistress Medics. But provided that Mr. isn't watching the medics, they're not moving, so he doesn't get any real benefit out of that I wouldn't have from just a hospital. And already I've done a decent enough job at stalling for Sunny's farms to have at least paid for themselves. Now we have a little bit of a problem here. Amigo's got an army I can't kill. I can threaten his base when his army isn't home, which is what I'm trying to do now. And I can use my fighters to sort of zone out Kuro. And we see as soon as I move my fighters back, like I'm trying to intercept him out on the water, he moves back as well, because he's terrified of the idea that I kill Amigo's base. For the time being, Amigo's base is like the main source of power projection that Kuro has. And so everyone basically is maxed, right? In some way, they're maxed. Right, Sunny's trying to max on farms right now, which is going to take a while, and it's kind of hard to enforce. Qalavan's trying to max on Navy, and is trying to blockade Kuro from sending reinforcements towards the middle of the map. Meanwhile, I am trying to defend all of the farms that Sunny has taken. Every farm in and around Blue's base is Sunny's right now, and that's good. We need that. That's a couple hundred eco in just farms. Right, sending some of my damaged choppers back, keeping my main chopper force so I can have a threat on the field while my other choppers are healing. Alright, if I were to send my entire chopper army back to the hospitals, I'd be giving up pretty important ground here. And we see as well, Amigo's getting out and trying to hit some of Sunny's farms. Okay. Kuro as well, trying to move around the map to hit Sunny. I see that. I try to move to intercept. I don't believe that I can kill Purple anymore because he's got a missile turret and a lot of vehicles on his base. So I'm just not going to bother. I will poke at his farm though. So long as I'm not getting splashed by the missile turret, I can get damage done on his buildings, which will stick unless he makes repairmen, which he won't. And the command center does peanuts for damage anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm mainly worried about any anti-air that are lying about. Okay, now we have a bit of a problem. Sunny's running for the hills. Smartly, he's running towards my choppers rather than trying to run away. Oh, he's running into the forest as well. Okay, I've got relative air superiority compared to Kuro. Right, I've got more choppers. And they're all bunched together. I've also got fighters that can help zone out if they try to go towards the missile turret cluster. So I'm defending now Yellow's region, and we have Qalavan still enacting a blockade. I'm moving out, trying to intercept Kuro's air force in the open, push him back. Okay, and I'm also hitting some of Amigo's farms, so this is good. This is really good. The enemies have not been able to push against me. Sunny's got 1 million farms that they have not dealt with. The longer this stays the case, the better this gets for us. We have an upgrading vehicle depot here from Mr. Curious to see what that ends up being. If I recall correctly, it's an artillery and not any sort of tanks, which makes sense, right? Why would you upgrade a vehicle depot when everything on the map right now is air units? Most of the static defense, though, is missile turrets. In fact, all of our static defense as a team is missile turrets. So artillery is kind of death knell to any of those defenses. Let me real quick, hold on. There we go. Anyways, getting back to it. So already, Amigo has a credible threat towards Sunny's farms. I still have a credible threat. I'll lose my whole army to do it, but I can kill Amigo's base if I have to. I just have to target one missile turret before I target anything else, because if I don't, then 2 missile turrets shooting at my entire air force is just not going to be something I can survive. So I can kind of hold a gun to Amigo's head, and if he moves, I can shoot, is sort of how this ends up working out. Kuro will manage to get his choppers back, though. As soon as I have my force pointed at Amigo, we have a problem where suddenly Sunny's losing a lot of upgraded farms. And Qalavan's trying to fight on his own soil, which I believe Sunny had taken farms over there, right? Kuro's fighting Qalavan. Kuro's fighting, well, not even fighting me. He just got in and got out. That's all he needed to do. Trying to get a decent formation on the move here. Yeah, I know that I'm not catching Kuro. Okay. Sunny's got a wallet of 1k, he's at almost 200 per minute. No farms currently exist on Qalavan's island. And so status quo is still okay-ish. Sunny says he's going for Green's base farms. Okay. That's good. We can probably hold that. And it also kind of works where I can hold my troops close to Amigo's base and also close enough that I can intercept anything on the water. But I'm retreating right now. And we see Kuro's got a navy. That's problematic. Out of the corner of the screen, Kuro's got a navy. He's got 4 battleships. I really can't engage that with 13 choppers. I just straight up, that's going to be very difficult to engage. Maybe I can do it, but I'll lose my air force, and I have 10 pop right now, and that means I gotta go restart everything, which I could do. I just don't have that many workers. Honestly, I think one of my biggest flaws in this game, besides wasting choppers in the early game, that was not necessary. One of my biggest flaws is not making enough workers. I've got 1. And if I have to sell and rebuild anything, that 1 worker is the guy who has to do it, which takes forever. Aircraft carrier is under attack, apparently, and it'll die, but that's fine, because I can't produce out of it anyways. Now I'm at 37 out of 10. Okay. I catch Kuro's Air Force unattended, and I'm going to get quite a few chopper kills. 3 choppers for pretty much free. It's really nice. Now, Kuro hasn't been selling his houses for power, so he can rebuild. Okay, Kuro's battleships make it to port. This is problematic for me. Because what's going to happen now, my control over the water is going to start slipping. And as that's the case, we have an artillery and some medics here from Mr. If that gets on my island, things are going to get bad very quickly. And so we see Amigo and Mr. moving out. We've got anti-air trying to defend the coasts. I'm going to try to intercept some of these after I heal up my choppers because they're very low. But yeah, I don't know if you've ever driven your entire air force into an upgraded navy before. It doesn't work. You can get isolated battleships or destroyers here or there, but like if you've got 3 or 4 battleships or destroyers in formation, you're pretty much air untouchable. Unless you get hit by max choppers, which I can't make in this game because, well, powerless. Okay, so sitting back, healing my choppers, getting the most value out of this hospital as I possibly can. Qualavan's playing double duty across the entire map. And I think some of that's my fault. Sunny has taken the farms on Qualavan's island. That's good. We needed that. And so we've got a lot of money here. But the enemies are making a doomsday army. And by army, I mean navy. Now, Amigo's base is completely undefended. So I can swoop in and kill that and remove it to a 1v1. But we have a problem. How are we going to deal with the transport ships? Amigo even sells his base. I don't even have to kill it. Now, one thing. Anti-air can't shoot while they're on a barge. That's pretty important. Barges are going to be complete sitting ducks. The most valuable military target that I can hit is a full barge. That is the entire enemy hopes and dreams. Now, medics can heal from a barge. So that's worth noting. But the only way that I can really secure a win in this upcoming fight is if I can trade my entire air force for the enemy invasion fleet. Right? If the landings can't happen, right, the enemies get intercepted out in the water, they lose their ground force. Sure, they've got a big scary navy, but we're in two positions on two different islands. They can't blockade us. I've got a worker out on the main island anyways. They'd have to kill it, and I have a pretty scary air force, so they'd have to kill it with something other than ground troops that they just lost in their barges, right? Killing the barges full of troops is so unimaginably good for me. The enemies have had to sell so much to get themselves in this position. They have money so they can rebuild, but they'd have to, rebuild by making workers from Kuro's base one by one. And that's going to take forever. Now, already, the enemies have, 10 battleships now, combined. That is a terrifying fleet. And so here we go. Now is the make or break moment. Mister's barge at least needs to die. If I could choose one or the other, I want Mister's. It's got the artillery, it's got the medics, it's got workers. That's, the biggest problem. Sure, Amigo's barge is problematic too, but Mister's is way more so. The barge is in the middle of the formation. We have Qalavan moving in with 3 battleships. And here we go. Here we have the jockeying of the century. Now, battleships and choppers are very close in speed. In fact, I'm getting tagged by Kuro's battleships because I'm trying to maneuver a little bit too close. Qalavan, already having lost one of his... This is bad. I tried to dive in on Kuro because he is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. He starts spamming ports in order to block like you would generators. I managed to get the barge from Amigo, and suddenly Qalavan realizes he's got an air force as well. This is the make or break moment. We need this blue barge to die. If the blue barge manages to unload his troops on my soil, I'm toast. And I've only got fighters. I can't do a thing except maybe harass some of these choppers. Or soak damage. Right, I can soak damage. But Qalavan's preparing for a defense, but we don't have any way to defend against all of this. Mr. unloads, and this is not good. Really not good. The battleships get to shoot at all of Sunny's militia. Sunny's out of the fight. Qalavan's got a couple of choppers that are at half HP. They're not going to be able to stop Mister's workers from doing something. And so we have a bit of a standoff here. There's healing with Mister's force, though. That's the biggest thing. And Kuro's coming with reinforcements. Got a vehicle depot placing. And this game is as good as over now. As soon as the vehicle depot goes up, Mister can start building whatever he wants on our base. He has nothing else of value. He apparently has enough population left over to make something. And he's probably going to make just a couple more anti-air and then just push. Right, Qalavan can't dive this, not at the shores where the battleships get to fire back. I'm trying to desperately make 2 air pads to just produce something. But the air pads aren't going to do anything. Mister's already on our island again, and this is GG. Right, I'm desperately selling my farms in order to have the power to make houses. But again, I've only got 1 worker. He's got to make all of this. I've got 2 choppers on the field, and that's just not going to be enough to help stop the artillery from killing me. We've got 2 anti-air. We've got healing on the map. Qalavan manages to kill one of them, but Mr. can just make another. And so we've got a couple of choppers and no other hope, really. At this point, we are beyond cooked. And Kuro's joining with reinforcements. I can't even manage to pick off a... Oh, I do manage to pick off a single chopper, so there's that. But the anti-air is just getting so much damage done. They were fighting in range of a missile turret, but there's just enough healing now. Yeah, I can't outdamage their healing. And that's GG. Even if it was down to the only thing that they had was that vehicle depot, they camp the battleships around there, and then they just start spamming even recons, we'd be cooked. And yeah, so that's the end of this powerless game. Artillery will slowly march forward and start shelling my base, and that's just going to be that. Anyways, I hope that you have enjoyed this very unique game mode. I actually enjoyed playing it quite a bit, as frustrating as it seems. If you're interested in trying something like this out, maybe play in some of the Saturday Smackdowns on the Discord server. You never know what kind of game modes will be going on there. Anyways, if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and remember, stay classy.